Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Mark, and welcome to another episode of Mark Isaac Potter Presents. This is episode 2, visiting today with Desanka Djonin, who is a very wonderful person, very wise, very well educated, and seems to know how to leverage things in life. She's done a good job at being a human being. And there's rumors that she might continue to be that way. So, how gracious of you, not really. So, what do you want to keep talking about this notion we talked about in episode 1 about how we're introducing grief as part of uh, the work performance thing, ambiance or ingenue or some word that I can't pronounce? Is that I'm
Well,
a
it's one
writer.
of those words for sure.
I'm a writer, so I love to play with words. Before it became popular in comedy, what do you
There you
think?
go.
You want to do something else instead, or you want to work on that or talk about that?
I think we did a pretty okay job touching upon, why a corporation might choose to include grief and really, just to sum it all up, I don't know that they would. I think it really comes down to revenue protection
Yep.
and revenue generation, which you can't do if you're bleeding out very well.
Follow
Um,
the money. Follow the money. Yep.
so,
Yep.
the reason you would care about your computer a lot of the time is if your computer is not doing what you need it to do
There
and
you go.
you're losing time, you're losing money. So that'll force you to care about, the thing.
Right.
So that's kind of the answer to that. And it makes a lot of sense, but it's one of those symbiotic things that kind of works in the favor of the employees as well. So
Okay. Well, don't
hopefully
be surprised if I
for
don't
good
do
things.
an episode. Go ahead.
Oh no, I'm just saying hoping for good things for
Yes.
everyone.
I was saying, don't be surprised if I don't do a couple episodes on my own talking about this further, and I like to get some of this stuff recorded. If I were to do such a thing, should I leave the source of the idea anonymous, or would you rather I mention you?
Well, since we're recording, you may as well mention me. I'm here.
I'm going to do some stuff on my own. I do a lot of episodes by myself. It just fascinates me, the topic. But what is what is another thing you'd like to say or talk about, or you want me to ask probing questions like why are employers so why are the is the whole planet preoccupied with making a buck, and why do we why do we have billionaires that have 3, 4, and $500 billion who now need more money, so much so that they take away food out of the mouths of children, for God's sakes. Pardon me, I've just been watching too
You've been
many.
have you been reading?
No, no, believe me, I don't read. I can't even spell TV. Uh, no, I do a lot of TikTok, and there is some, they block the Democrats a lot, but I've never made a political statement this blunt in any of my previous 500 shows. And that's the honest to God's truth. I just feel
Yeah.
like we have to do something and we have to all speak up. I apologize, but what part of your what part of your business would you like to speak about next?
Hmm.
There's a lot more to this performance thing. There must be other components that you guys look at, right?
Yeah. I mean,
Do you have like a
we
panoply of components that you look at for any given client?
really it's kind of like a bakery. where you go in and you say, you know, I need a cake for 200 people and I want it to taste like this, or I want, you know, I want it to have two flavors. And then we take those components and we put together a package for what you want your
Okay.
cake to look
Okay.
like.
So
Um,
that's good to know because each person watching can now know that, okay, this can be a customized. We're not
yeah,
just going to come in with our gold star package and sell it to you for $25,000 or whatever it is. So that
right.
now that intake, that original intake where you get the feel of the company, is that a fee for that intake or is that thing free or not?
Well, our first few conversations will be kind of like this one, where we go back and forth and we figure out what it is we're trying to do,
Okay.
and then something takes form. Um,
Okay. All right.
so it really is up to the needs of the client. Uh, it That's something I took away ethically. It's not for me to sell to you what I'm going to do for you. And I know that that's completely the opposite of what a lot of coaches do.
Praise the Lord. I love it. I am such a lousy salesman because I don't like it. I care about the client. I do tons of stuff for free, as you already know. And
Mhm.
oh yeah, so you have a few. So the process is someone calls you, or they look at an ad of yours, or what? How does someone get in touch with you? Hi, baby. Hi, babu. How are you?
Well, they call a boo, and then a boo will tell me so and so is on the line,
Very
and
nice.
then
Yes.
and
Well,
then they have to
Babu's the
listen
only
to a
one in
series.
your house who can afford an iPhone. That's why, I think.
Exactly,
Yeah, because he
because
he has a really good job.
he
He works
does
for the Canadian version of the CIA, undercover.
whatever they're called. Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, really. They're called maple leaves. Yeah.
there's a joke in there.
Yeah. So, yeah. Nobody will be able to find it. So what? So
Oh,
you go. So someone either calls you or gets on the website or
through
something.
any, yeah, through any means, and then we'll have a conversation and we'll see kind of what really is necessary and where I can come in and do the most work, and we figure it out from there. But really, it's customizable because of the nature of the work. It's not going to be one size fits all. And if it was, then it wouldn't exist
Yeah.
as a job. It wouldn't exist
Yeah.
as a service.
So lots of questions in there. Like, do you have a certain size company you like to work with? Do you have a certain market? Like, I was just on the phone with somebody who works with used truck dealer associations. Do you have a niche you like or not? A size you like or not? More than
I
500
have a
employees or
niche. I
okay,
don't have a niche that I like. You know, I like working in general with different companies because it's like a puzzle. So I get to solve it
okay,
every time, and it's the
right?
same reason I love, you know, my clients and everything. So I found it rewarding, and it was always something new for me to learn and ways to use my brain. But I have a niche that is dear to my heart, which is um, like social services agencies that work with child welfare.
Okay.
And frontline workers in general, but especially the ones that look after children and youth.
Wow, okay.
So those are my like dear to my heart, um that I love to work with because I
Oh,
just there's so much to do and so many ways that the system has failed, that we really fixing anything at this point will be excellent. So
yeah,
looking at new
yeah.
ways to transform, new ways to prevent child abuse, new ways to enhance the system for children in the system. Just that area of work is where I would say uh, service providers need a lot of
Huh.
support, and we like there isn't enough money to waste even in that
Yeah.
sector. We need to
Yeah.
do most with what we have, and that is that's kind of where my passion grew out of, is that sector.
Okay.
So
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. Uh,
yeah.
how many, well, don't answer questions that are proprietary, but how many social services agencies around the world do you think you've protected so far or helped?
Mm, right now, two or three, because I'm brand new.
Okay. Okay. All right. Very nice. Very nice. What I'm doing right now, by the way, is trying to fix my computer because you may not know this, but it froze here a few minutes ago. So seriously, I'm trying to be more professional.
Yeah.
So that's I would not have expected that. Frankly, I would have expected that your niche was more maybe corporations with 500 or more employees because and this is the not really the elephant in the room, but something, the price of anyone's product. People are sometimes want to say what their prices are because either their prices are lower or they really emphasize how top shelf they are. And some people want to really shy away from that because they feel like it's proprietary. So with a social
Mhm.
services agency, do you have trouble getting the pay? Do they do a good job of remuneration in a way that works for you?
Um, well, yeah, I feel like generally agencies and businesses are pretty good about hiring out to get this kind of help. So
Okay,
they're
I could.
they're pretty everybody has a budget for some kind of improvement, and that was always there. I haven't had a problem. But
Okay, no, that's great. Okay, so this thing about performance, and next show you can write the questions if you want. I used to do that all the time, but no, I'm being serious. We used to have the client write the questions so that you get
oh,
asked the
so I'd be
things.
prepared with
Well, no, so you can really highlight what you want to
mhm.
highlight rather than have me come up with something. But having not done that this time, we have these various components of performance. What are some of the other components of performance that you look at as the owner of Momentum Coach?
Well, let's see. There's the systemic ones. So there's in big companies, you'll have usually something that is happening in a flow, like in a workflow, that
Okay.
for some reason isn't happening, and so we look at that. So systemic. And then there's interpersonal, which is more when it's a team or it's like people based. It's not too many people involved in the situation. Then you can look at possible interpersonal conflicts and things that are happening in that sense. Usually, it's a mixture of both. Um, so those are some of the components.
Okay.
And those are things that are usually difficult to weed out or notice. And it mixes in with company culture. It could be, a little bit of that psychology, depending on what's happening. So those are usually things they're difficult to pin down. And so they're difficult to eradicate.
Now, do
And
you think that
normally
do
you'll
you,
make like 100,000 policies to deal with these little things rather than implement a change or a training. And a lot of things is like where should maybe a policy be a training? So
okay.
there's that kind of stuff. We kind of look
Yeah.
at problem solving and strategizing in terms of not only preventing crisis and like revenue protection, but really just enhancement, like making the whole workplace a better place to be and making the company better at what it does.
So you're not just addressing a certain team about their performance and becoming their performance coach, but you might also try to do mild surgery on the company culture so that it supports their work effort's better?
Yeah, it could be more of an internal company performance rather than a specific departmental performance or like a performance of a specific team. Like
Can you
we won't
give
necessarily.
can you give us a anonymous example of such a situation?
An example of a situation might be that one group of professionals who are trained in something, let's say, mental health professionals, or another group that is trained in something like social work. They have to collaborate for the same client. The way that they have that collaboration might not be at the level that we want it to be. So that's one example of cross-departmental. That might be a systemic, or it might be an interpersonal issue at different times.
Okay.
Or an interdepartmental issue might just be just the sales team, like
Okay.
in a different place. So
Yeah. Yeah.
it applies very widely, but it's a very specific niche.
Okay. That's fun. That's amazing. It's just
Yep.
endlessly fascinating. I don't know. I've already said all the stuff. I want to interrupt you every third word, but I don't want to get slapped either. So,
You say the stuff and I say the things.
oh, is that how it
Round
works?
and round we go. Yeah.
Technical terms, stuff and things. Very popular in the television production world. Yes. All right. So we have this different, we have workflow, we have systemic problems, we have grief. Those are three things that affect performance. And other things you'd like to throw out there, eating too many oranges, or if your son is a skateboarder, it could be. We have a thing
Yes.
here in this country there's a comedian, his first name is Jeff. I can't think of his last name. And it's like, well, if you come home and there's a transmission in the bathtub, you might be a redneck. Have you heard of this guy or not? You probably haven't, apparently.
No.
Because he's popular here. And I'm from that part of the country, so I love his humor. So
You're
what
gonna have
else?
to share that with me.
Go ahead.
Oh, you're gonna have to share that with me so I don't miss out.
Someday when I remember, what was it again? All right. So yeah. So what else do we talk about when it comes to performance? That we have workflow, we have systemic, we have grief. What other components and how do you take someone who's doing well? Because companies like this, they like to do this. They say, okay, we made 5% profit last year, or it could be 500%, whatever it is. And then for some reason, they go, we want to make 7% next year. Nobody is comfortable or happy with, usually with last year's performance. So you've got this person, let's call her Jane, rather plain name, and she's the top performer, but they
Hmm.
want her to perform better next year, better, even though she's the top performer. What
Okay.
would you do? Let's say I'm the company and I say, you know, Desanka, Jane's been doing great. She's our best employer. We've got key man insurance on her. She did, I work with real estate a lot. So she did like $40 million in gross sales last year. But we want her to hit 60 so that, our investors are happy or God knows what other reason we want to start an office in Mozambique or whatever. How would you approach that? Would it be the same components? Would it be workflow, systemic, and grief?
Oh my. Well, okay, so you're asking me for proprietary things, but in
Well, don't
general,
no no please don't say anything proprietary.
I don't know.
Tell me to
In
go to hell
general,
or something instead. No.
those are pretty standard, I think, performance. Like, I don't want to say they're issues because they're really just wants. They're not
Components,
even
yeah.
they're not necessarily even needs. So this person's not bleeding money. They're performing at a place and they just want to do better next year. So there are people who are qualified in doing the math that's required for what exactly needs to happen to reach those metrics. Um, the question of whether plain Jane can or can't is up to Jane. So there might be a conversation there. And it really would be a conversation with that company to hear what they are feeling around. You know, in therapy, one thing they would ask you is you have all of the expectations for yourself and for your employee. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, no, it's true, but
You know, I
yeah,
don't want to say
it's
that that's what
true.
I would ask, but it is a moment of like introspection is there are people who will do the math for you in case you want to know what exactly you have to do to reach that
Yeah.
number. But
And
the way you're
companies
going to
usually
get
want to
there,
just throw money at you to solve it. And the
yeah,
money may not solve it. It may be Jane might, if Jane has some clout, she might say, well, I want daycare, either here in the office or paid at home. Or
right?
I want, my cousin has 12 kids. I want you to, I don't know. So
Now at
anyway,
that point she enters into a negotiation, but that's,
yeah.
that's beyond performance. That's really you're asking her
Eh,
to perform and she's saying she could. If that thing is holding her back, then that is a
Well,
legitimate
I would
negotiation.
encourage high performers, and there are a lot of them. I would encourage high performers to be more assertive if they can. And usually high performers
I
can
would agree with that.
because they're high performers. They're kind of their personality by nature is.
You didn't
Well,
just call them high performers with air quotes, did you?
yeah, is that bad? Is that like a thing? Don't use air quotes anymore. I am from
No.
the boomer generation, I grew up with Charlemagne and Napoleon and like that. We are now shockingly out of time. I know
Shocking.
I know
Oh,
it, huh? I know it went by fast, folks. Uh,
no, it was so great.
life goes on.
Thank you.
So we'll see you in the whatever we have on the schedule, folks. It's been lovely. I love you guys. Desanka, thank you for your time and your insights.
Thank
And
you.
we'll see you next time. We still have to talk about you want me to call you after or not? Or you want to
Oh,
talk about
whatever
editing
works
and
for
all
you.
that? Okay, I may do that then. All right, take care, folks. We care
Bye,
about
everyone.
you. All right.